Heavy rain caused severe damage in local communities in the Gambia. European Union Ambassador's mission ends in Banjul as he says goodbye to President Barrow. South Sudan's government to introduce new banknotes to ease cash crunch. These and more coming your way on News Desk. Hello, this is Africa TV and many thanks for joining us. I am Mamadou Kante and now the news in detail. Now, dozens of houses have been destroyed in the communities of Sinchubalia following heavy rains on the Monday afternoon and early Tuesday rather. Al-Qasim Conte, one of those who were evacuated to the Sinchubalia health post, told Africa TV that many of the items were destroyed in his home. Let's take a listen to him in this insert.
The rain has destroyed so many things here, including money for the family upkeep, amounting to $3,000 here. But one cannot do anything because it's destined by God. We are asking God to come to our rescue because every year the rain used to cause so many damages to us. Our neighbors from Sinchubalia and the surrounding villages all came to help us.
One of the victims speaking there after a heavy rain or downpour of rain destroyed many houses in local communities in the Gambia. And we'll bring you more details of that in our subsequent news editions. Now, to matters of the TRC, because Issa Fall, the lead counsel of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission, has debunked a report by the Standard newspaper which suggests that the former National Intelligence Chief and co-rejected an invitation to testify at the Commission. Fall said that was reported by the newspaper is contrary to what the TRC did with the group of the ex-intelligence officers, commonly known as the NIA-9, who are currently on trial for the alleged murder of Solo Sanden, an opposition political activist in 2016. Details of that in this report by Maria Macham.
On Monday, the Standard newspaper reported that the officers, including the former intelligence chief Yankuba Baji, had turned down an invitation to testify before the Truth Commission. But the lead counsel said the commission never invited those NIA officers to testify. Esafal did admit that there is some form of contact between the TRC and the ex-intelligence officers. However, he said there was no summon issued to any of them and that they went to the prisons on a different investigation but not to meet the former NIA officers.
The TRRC officials that went to the prisons on a different investigation.
TRRC la do kulalu menu tata kasola wol tata kisi dole la je.
They deemed it necessary to inform these former NIA officials that at the appropriate time, the TRRC officials may wish to speak with them about activities of the NIA.
The Commission's officials had an informal discussion with the former officers that when the time is ripe for them to testify, they should volunteer to do so, according to Esafal. He said if the Truth Commission is to investigate the former intelligence officers, the rules require that they all cooperate with the investigations, failure of which will result in sanctions. But as things are, the Commission has neither requested for any of them to testify nor to give a statement, but there is a possibility of it happening in the near future, Fall said. Counsel Fall said they have put safeguards in place to protect the former officers should they appear before the Commission so that they do not incriminate themselves, and these include immunity.
That we are not investigating the case that is already in court, especially as it concerns those individuals who are being tried for those cases.
Wadalilo le ya sabu TRRC te kisi bulandila wokolu noma ibe kitindi kamenu la bi me ya lonko wala keta dawundati nyi molie men ya lonko iba adia mo nyi kono.
But for those cases that may in future be investigated by TRRC as it concerns the NIA-9.
Bitun kudolu men ya larim follow menu mamma ko men keta nyi NIA Quality TRRC la Carola.
Let me reassure you once again
That
the right against self-incrimination is a right that is respected by the TRRC.
Esafal was making these clarifications at the 16th session of the Commission's public hearings on October 12th. It is the mandate of the Commission to establish the truth about human rights abuses under ex-President Yahya Jammeh from 1994 to 2017. The Commission is not awkward, but it is expected to make recommendations for the prosecution of persons responsible for the most serious crimes under Jammeh. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
The lead counsel of the TRRC, SR Files, there clarifying on a report, reported on the Standard newspaper regarding or related to the NIA-9 and the TRRC. Now, to Europe, because the European Union countries are experiencing a fresh spike in COVID-19 cases after successfully slowing outbreaks early in the year. The vast majority of countries are declaring more cases each day now than they were during the first wave earlier the pandemic. Well, the CC has more details of that in this report.
According to reports, infection numbers may appear higher, and it could simply be that increases in testing capacities are identifying more cases. Some European countries, including Italy and England, are mulling strict new measures to stop the spread of the coronavirus as cases on the continent continue to surge. Italy, which has experienced as one of the worst-hit European countries during the first wave of the pandemic, is expected to impose new rules this week after Sunday saw the highest increase in coronavirus patients entering intensive care since March 31st. Reports also indicated that more European leaders are preparing to take drastic actions to contain a second wave of COVID-19, which will likely damage their economies. They are preparing to follow in the footsteps of nations such as France and Spain, which have been forced to tighten restrictions in major cities. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson is as well set to announce a new system of alert levels in England, as authorities try to curb rising numbers of infections in the country. Germany's largest cities have all become hotspots over the past few days, with Berlin seeing the most cases and high numbers of the pandemic. Germany reported 2,467 new coronavirus cases on Monday, according to data from its Public Health Institute. Reports found out that the rise comes after a period of unprecedented lockdown during the first wave, which helped reduce cases and the death rate across the continent. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
European countries setting out strict measures to contain the second wave of the coronavirus pandemic in their countries. There is more news coming ahead though, but for now we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we bring you the rest of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back. And once again, many thanks for joining us. Now, after serving for almost 5 years in office, the ambassador to the Gambia, Attila Lyons, on Tuesday bade farewell to President Adama Barrow as he leaves at the end of his term. Mr. Lyons was the first EU ambassador resident in the country to have witnessed Gambia's democratic transition. The 2016 presidential election was a major achievement that the European Union held. According to Mr. Lyons, He said the EU would continue its commitment to the country's transformation.
The remarkable moment is the fact that Gambia has decided. Gambia has decided on a change, on a democratic change, and that's what the European Union wanted to support from the beginning. I think there is no more difficult thing than a transition, a democratic transition of any country in the world. Our understanding is that the Gambia stays on the democratic transformation, and that is why the Gambia can always rely on the European Union for the support in the future to have a completion of this transition. Well, I don't think the EU-Gambia bilateral relations ever been so intensive on every level. And, you know, when you have a presidential level meeting twice a year in any country of posting, that already describes how intensive these ties are. But what I consider the most important is that this intensification of bilateral relations were not only the characteristic of the very beginning of the changes, but it went through year by year, and that I think that shows very well how reinforced the EU-Gambia relations have been ever since the presidential election in 2016.
EU ambassador to the Gambia, Attila Lyot, there speaking after bidding farewell to the president. Now to South Sudan, because South Sudan's local currency has depreciated by almost 100% due to the coronavirus and the fall in oil price, according to government officials. The country's central bank is struggling to implement its monetary policy, as many people are now keeping their money at home. However, the government is seeking financial support from international partners, including the World Bank, to salvage the economy. Here are more details of that in this report.
South Sudan's currency, the pound, which was introduced when the country became independent, has depreciated by almost 100% this year alone. The government says the devaluation is due to a fall in global oil prices and the COVID-19 pandemic. South Sudan's economy depends on oil money to fund 98% of its budget. The government says many South Sudanese people are now keeping their money at home.
This is an advice to those who are hoarding money, South Sudanese money, in their houses, to hurry them to the banks. Put them into the banks so that you don't lose them. Put them into the banks as of now so that you avoid queuing up when the time comes for exchanging the currency.
Keeping money at home has made it hard for the central bank to implement its monetary policy. The World Bank says a protracted war, corruption, and mismanagement has caused the current economic crisis in the oil-producing nation. South Sudan's central bank says it has run out of foreign exchange reserves and it therefore couldn't stop the pound's depreciating. It says it is putting up measures to salvage the economy, including seeking financial assistance from the World Bank and International Monetary Fund. But the World Bank says it wants to see financial transparency in the country as it continues engaging the government.
There are a number of areas that we have discussed. The first was the way to support the public financial reform agenda that the government has.
South Sudan's government has not yet disclosed a date when the new currency will be introduced. One economic analyst says more needs to be done to stabilize the economy.
Without improving the conflict situation and building infrastructure, particularly roads, and making these roads also safe to ensure goods and services move across the country, it will be difficult for us to address the economic situation. So the decision of the government to change the currency will not entirely address the crisis of the economy.
President Salva Kiir has so far replaced his finance minister and the head of the country's revenue authority in what he says is a reshuffle meant to improve the economy.
And from that report there in South Sudan, finally to Nigeria, where more than 60% of Nigerian households suffered food insecurity, according to an August report by the country's National Bureau of Statistics. The country's economy was adversely affected due to the COVID-19 pandemic, with many families resorting to other means for survival. Experts say the government needs to support farmers to boost food production in the country. Let's have more details of that in this report.
It's becoming increasingly difficult for Nuhu Abdul Kadiri to fend for his family of 6. Despite the rising cost of food and other commodities, the civil servant's salary has remained static. The older children have been chipping in to help support the family, but the resources are still insufficient. Since the COVID-19 lockdown, the family has taken drastic measures to survive the hardship.
Those of us that are cooking 2 times, 3 times a day, we had to adjust it to cook only once a day. And we have neighbors that their main source of income, they have to go every day and source for their livelihood. Actually, they have been tied down. They cannot go out. The only option they have is to come closer to those of us that they assumed we keep little, and we have to share along with them. Actually, our children, I can say they are somehow malnourished.
I started this work during this lockdown, during this pandemic period, in order to support my family. Work helps me a lot because I've sold these pillows a lot.
Like Nuhu, millions of Nigerians are in a precarious situation spurred by the socio-economic effect of COVID-19. Many have suffered job losses and pay cuts. Basic needs like food is becoming far beyond the reach of the average Nigerian. The Bureau of Statistics report shows that out of 68% households facing food insecurity, 51% use loans to feed.
We have a scenario where the political instability in the northeast, in the northwest, which has extended to a great extent to the middle belt, is affecting farmers' ability to produce the food that we normally eat. And also where you have a situation where the currency is fast losing value, any food that is imported will also reflect the price, the cost of is being imported in terms of the naira vis-a-vis foreign currencies. The implications are frightening. You have to relate it to crime. If able-bodied young men and women, old men cannot feed themselves, they will definitely have to do all it takes, whether legal or illegal, to put some food in their stomach.
Food inflation hit 16% in August 2020. To stem the tide of food insecurity and its unpleasant impact on the country, experts advise government to readjust the security architecture of the country to allow farmers safely return to their farms, as well as strengthen the food production value chain to curtail waste and boost production.
Nigerian households there suffers, of course, food insecurity amid the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, from that report in Nigeria, we finally bring this news text bulletin to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, you can also look onto our website on africa.tv. But you can also join Sahna Tunkara at 17:30 GMT, of course 5:30 local time, for the World Today News Bulletin. But don't go away, stick around. TRC proceedings will continue in a moment. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and bye for now.